I've come to the conclusion that whoever designed these pick mount brass catchers never took into consideration that someone might actually mount something else on top of their upper. That or the penny pinchers got involved and shrunk it. Thing is, if you mount anything up here and you have a standard upper with a brass deflector, you quickly run out of real estate and you think, well, I just move it to the first slot on the handguard. Well, problem is, then it's rail, smacks up against the handguard, interferes, and it won't go on far enough to retain. Why? I've been fighting with this all along, kind of compromising eye relief, little things. It's like, okay, I got different mounts. I used to mount it behind. I had worn X-Scale, which is lower. It has big offset though, like it's over 3-inch offset cantilever. But I couldn't quite get things where I needed them. Tried a few different mounts trying to get everything to fit. And it's like, okay, I got it, but I got everything set up. It was fine shouldered, but on the bench, it's too close. So I'm like, okay, I'll move it up one because it's all the way back. Then I couldn't mount my brass catcher. So like, okay, mount it on the handguard. Thing is, almost all handguards, they skip that slot. So you actually have to move it 2 spots. What you end up with is this. And you can't put it on far enough to stay in place. Thanks. And if you need it put further, now you're interfering with your dust cover. All they had to do was make this thing 1 inch longer. And mounting it here would have cleared this. It would have been almost like mounting it here. It would have almost been 2 slots. Different, on the upper, on the handguard. It would have spanned that gap. Made this so much easier. Yikes. So, like, what do I do about this? I'm gonna have to modify something. Fortunately, luckily I have a MIG welder because to do it, I have to do some welding. Technically, I could have got away without the welding, but structural integrity would have been compromised a bit. My first thought was these rails that the mount clamps to, extend them so this sits externally. Doing that would have spanned that gap and a little bit more. It would have easily, it would have been like mounting it here pretty much. That inch. Maybe a touch more actually. But it's like, to do that, I would have needed some wire the same diameter as this to clamp to. I don't have that. I have this, which is, visually can't see, but it's small enough where it doesn't tighten down quite enough and it'll move. It's just enough. Maybe powder coat might have fixed it, that kind of thing, but I didn't feel like buying wire to do that, so I did something else. And from outside, it all looks, stock, except for my heat shielding, which that's another video. You can prevent this. These have been running for 2 years, and they still look like new. So get yourself some aluminum tape and go crazy. This time I actually went all the way around. So what I did, let me take this apart, show you. But what I did, I took some masking tape so I could pencil it. And I mounted it here. And, I marked it for some clearance on the brass deflector. Cut it in the middle of that. And then bent it. Like so. Well, it's covered up, but you get the idea. And then I took this, because the size didn't matter anymore, and I just tacked it in to put that structural rigidity back in place, and now it won't get squished in my bag. It's as strong as it was. What this does is it gives me clearance all the way around that brass deflector. And it would go all the way on if I didn't have enhanced takedown pins. They hold it just shy of all the way, like a spot or two. If they were standard, it would go all the way on now and be fine. Yeah, I did this. Because every now and then around, brass will sneak up in between. Still, I haven't melted any. It works as good as a heat sink because first thing it does, it hits here at its hottest point, works in, has to work itself up. Figure with the ends done, that will minimize that. And since it's going on my 9mm PCC as well, smaller brass, and that slick side, so I don't have this covering this hole. I'm leaving this just as is. That's where I was going to go. Now, if you have to go another slot, you start interfering with the dust plate. The dust cover. But, if you take it down all the way, just give it enough room to swing, and give clearance, you could get that. Because with it holding this to the outside, it'll be fine. It just work. But like I say, 1 more inch would have solved this problem. Whether it was engineers never considering, hey, something else is going to go there, or bean counters. Well, if we shorten this thing up, we'll make millions more because we'll sell lots of them. I don't know. Could have been both. Yeah. But yeah, big oversight if you ask me. Get this back together. But yeah, with that like that, covers this on the slick side. The 9mm shouldn't sneak past. When I put it on, I just, get it to go behind the brass catcher. And everything clears nicely. So yeah, could save you some headache. Now there's a company called StarTac that makes, it's a slightly different, it's very similar, slightly different mounting system. Unfortunately, everyone clones this Caldwell system. So they're virtually identical. I mean, the biggest difference is, you might get the locking one, which will not walk out, which brings me to another point. The Caldwell one, the detent balls, it's this piece. The springs aren't as strong as the knockoffs. The knockoffs, the Caldwell I've had where you're firing away and it backs off and just falls off. I haven't had that problem with the knockoff ones, oddly enough. But one difference is, these are the original Caldwell screws. See how they're slightly proud? It's aluminum, every thread counts. The knockoffs tend to be just shy, and they strip out easier. Don't go past 5-inch pounds. You'll strip them out. The Caldwell, I haven't had a problem with that. It's this piece, the detents. But anyway, get back to the StarTAC. It's hard to find those and they cost more. But their system is flush. It takes up 2 slots. It's got a slot for the raised bit. And it sits down in flush and just has a little tab that comes out. It hooks on. Or snaps on. However, I haven't seen one in person, just pictures. But it would sit under this scope mount, the front. It's brilliant. And the construction, they're aluminum at the top, they got some plastic, and then the mesh down, so the brass has time to cool. But it's basically here, there's a slot in the ventilated aluminum, to tighten up your screws, but it's a small slot, so you're a little more limited on adjustment, where these will go the whole way. But since it'll go underneath, it kind of makes up for it in some aspects, yeah. So, it's another video if you haven't seen it, like these, taking the aluminum tape and heat shielding them. Now this didn't even last a season and it was burned through without. I did this and ran it for another year. And I had like 1 round sneak up through and out. I mean, rounds will sneak up through. So this time I went all the way around, But you can't wrap the Velcro around, so I just did that. The top and bottom are plenty. It's Oop, I got a wrong one. Yeah, talking and trying to do stuff. Yeah, no wonder that went on so easy. There's that. There we go. There. It's not going anywhere. And that, covers, looks good. This stuff. Just take some alcohol or acetone and all that print will come off and it's nice and just shiny aluminum silver. And these have been running for 2 years and they still look good inside and out. So yeah, watch that video if you want to. And then I just keeps around them. So yeah, it's now you do this, you can mount up onto your handguard. I mean, like doing the heat shielding, this aluminum will add some strength, and you might be able to get away without welding that piece in, so you don't need to weld. But it is still compromised. The aluminum tape isn't that strong. It's still, crush pretty easy, but not as easily. Oh, something else. These things, it's easier to show on this one. You see, I've had to repair this, or the mounting, it comes up and it's U'd, and they just tack weld them. Well, they do a crappy tack weld, and I've had 2 of them just one side pop off. That's your mount. And then it's all stressed here. Eventually, it's going to just fall apart. So that's where it's welding. Strengthen it up, because that's where all the stress is. I forget which brand it was. I think it was an off-brand, but I'm not positive. Had better welds. One of them I haven't had to weld yet, but they all pretty much look the same. So figuring out which it was, I don't know. But yeah, that's the weak spot right there and there. Like I said, I've had 2 of them where the spot weld is a lot loose. Go to put it on. It's like, why is that kind of wonky? And try to pull it off, and it, woo. Okay, tack it up. But yeah, I recommend welding these, doing this, and heat shielding with aluminum tape, and it'll last forever then. Like I said, been running these with heat shielding, just the front and the top, for 2 seasons now, and they're not melted. Goes a long way. I mean, it'll be a few more dollar investment, but it'll still be better than the expensive Caldwell, which is basically identical. Okay, well, I'm rambling, and I'll leave you with that. Have a good one. God bless. See you.